Kita ada mesyuarat kabinet petang ni. Good morning. I will give the opening first in bahasa Malaysia, then in bahasa Inggeris. Pertamanya, Malaysia mengambil maklum kepada keputusan unilateral dan akan meneruskan dialog perdagangan berhubungan kita dengan Amerika.
Reuters. Bahaya ni Sir Reuters. Agent.
Sorry.
Reuters.
Siapa buat tu?
Oh, jahat.
Anyway, alright, so start again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat petang dan good afternoon. Soal give the opening, saya akan buat pembukaan first in bahasa Malaysia dan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Kita mengambil maklum tentang keputusan yang dibuat oleh Amerika Syarikat, keputusan unilateral mengenai perdagangan dua hala di antara Malaysia dan Amerika Syarikat. Dalam tempoh 90 hari, dia berakhir semalam 90 hari ini, pasukan Brunei Niti dan saya sendiri secara kumulatif terlibat melalui program-programnya 25 sesi libat terus dengan rakan sejawat kami di Amerika Syarikat. Malaysia berunding dengan niat baik, ada give and take, tetapi kami berdirian teguh dalam perkara-perkara yang melibatkan kepentingan dan kedaulatan negara. Terdapat beberapa garis merah yang kami tidak berkompromi. Perundingan memangnya rumit dan tentu sekali memerlukan sedikit pengorbanan. Namun, matlamat kita tetap jelas untuk memastikan akses pasaran ekspor kita, memodernkan ekonomi kita dan melindungi mata pencarian Malaysia untuk jangka panjang. Dalam tempoh tersebut, MITI juga terlibat dengan pelbagai kementerian dan agensi, ada sesi libat urus dengan pelbagai kementerian dan agensi untuk mendapatkan maklum balas dan persetujuan mereka mengenai pelbagai perkara termasuk produk industrian, produk pertanian, langkah-langkah halangan bukan tarif dan perdagangan digital. Berdasarkan perkiraan dalaman kami, tawaran akses pasaran bagi produk industri dan pertanian kami telah meliputi sebagai besar daripada permintaan Amerika Syarikat. Kami juga perlu mencapai tahap persetujuan yang tinggi mengenai isu-isu seperti keselamatan ekonomi, pembelian produk buatan Amerika Syarikat dan meningkatkan pelaburan di Amerika Syarikat untuk membantu mengimbangi perdagangan Malaysia Amerika Syarikat. Malah saya mesti tekankan sekali lagi bahawa defisit perdagangan Amerika Syarikat dengan Malaysia menunjukkan trend yang menurun sejak 6 tahun yang lalu, sejak 2019. Antara hari ini dan 1 Ogos, MITI akan terus melibat urus dengan wakil perdagangan Amerika Syarikat dan sutradara perdagangan serta pegawai mereka mengenai perkara-perkara yang masih tertunggak. Dari sektor khusus, dari segi sektor khusus, perundingan kami untuk produk perindustrian berorientasi sektor seperti jentera dan peralatan, produk berasaskan kimia dan kimia, peranti perubatan, besi dan keluli, aluminium, plastik, otomotif dan juga TNT. Bagi hasil pertanian pula, perundingan tertumpu kepada buah-buahan segar dan juga proses, bijirin dan beras, ayam hidup dan telur, daging, daging putih, ayam, daging lembu dan babi, dan jerahan, susu dan produk penusu dan juga alkohol. Ada juga dakwaan halangan bukan tarif ataupun non-tarif barriers. Ini merupakan lagi satu utama yang telah diringankan, termasuk mengenai pensijilan halal. Strategi perundingan Malaysia mengenai produk pertanian adalah keseimbangan pragmatik antara kesihatan awam dan timbal balik. Jadi secara umumnya, kedua-dua pihak bersetuju untuk menyelaraskan pelbagai langkah, termasuk penerimaan persijilan kawal selia Amerika untuk produk makanan tertentu. Mengenai isu berasaskan alam sekitar dan buruh, Malaysia telah bersetuju untuk meningkatkan perlindungan alam sekitarnya selaras dengan komitmen global serta piawaian buruh antarabangsa. Bagi perdagangan digital, Malaysia komited untuk memudah cara pendigitalan dalam perdagangan dan menggalakkan aliran data rentas sempadan yang selamat ini bagi melancarkan pertumbuhan ekonomi. Pendekatan ini adalah melandaskan prinsip tanpa diskriminasi, di samping mempertahankan hak kedaulatan negara untuk mengawal selia demi kepentingan dan keselamatan awam. Ini selaras dengan prinsip-prinsip World Trade Organization untuk perdagangan dunia dan juga komitmen sedia ada di bawah FTA. Seterusnya saya mesti berkongsi bahawa tawaran komersial yang melibatkan pembelian pesawat Boeing yang dijanjikan oleh Malaysia Airlines serta tawaran lain mengenai semikonduktor dan teknologi juga merupakan sebahagian daripada pakej tersebut. Beberapa bulan lalu Malaysia Airlines mengumumkan pembelian 30 pesawat Boeing baru dengan kemungkinan 30 lagi pada masa depan. Kesemua perjanjian ini akan menyokong penimbangan perdagangan yang bersyarikat Malaysia. Jadi saya dah katakanlah kami sebenarnya tertakluk kepada MDA yang sedia ada. Jadi saya tidak akan menerangkan secara spesifik. Tetapi saya percaya anda semua mendapat gambaran kasar tentang tahap flexibility dan konsep give and take yang diperlukan dalam rundingan kami. Yang paling utama, kita berdiri teguh apabila perlu. Untuk setiap komitmen yang dirunding, kita akan bertanya, adakah lebih baik untuk mendapatkan tarikh yang lebih rendah pada S atau Y yang kita terpaksa menggadai A ataupun B. Jadi rundingan memerlukan keseimbangan dan pragmatism. Ini bukan hanya mengenai kadar tarikh, yang sama penting adalah butirannya. Okay, so that bahasa Malaysia, then I'll say in English and I'll open to Q&A. Just to give you the background, so Malaysia takes notes of Malaysia take note of the decision and will continue our constructive dialogue on bilateral trade with the US. So we took note of the decision by the US administration. With the recently concluded 90-day pause, concluded yesterday, MITI's negotiating team and myself seek to be cumulatively engaged with our US counterparts at least 25 separate occasions. We negotiated in good faith with considerable give and take while standing firm on crucial matters of national interest and sovereignty. There were specific red lines that we would not compromise on. Complex at times and I must say certainly demanding, the goal has remained clear: to secure our export market access, modernize our economy and safeguard Malaysian livelihoods for the long term. So during that period, MITI also reached out to various ministries and agencies to get their feedback and agreements on various matters, including industrial products, agricultural products, non-tariff barriers, as well as digital trade. Based on our internal calculations, our market access offers for both industrial and agricultural products cover nearly all of US requests. We also had to achieve a higher level of consensus on issues such as economic security, purchase of US-made products, and increasing investments in the US to help balance Malaysia-US trade. In fact, I must highlight again that the US trade deficit with Malaysia has been on a declining trend for the past 6 years. Between now and 1st of August, we will continue to engage the US trade representative and the Secretary of Commerce, through the Department of Commerce, and their officials on the outstanding matters. In terms of specific sectors, our negotiations for industrial products cut across sectors like machinery and equipment, chemical and chemical-based products, medical devices, iron and steel, aluminium, plastic, automotive, of course E&E. As for agriculture products, negotiations centered on fruits, grains and rice, live poultry and eggs, meats, milk and dairy products, alcohol. And there's also alleged non-tariff barriers. This is another major sector that was negotiated on, including on halal certification. Malaysia's negotiating strategy on agricultural products was a pragmatic balance between public health and reciprocity. Generally, both parties agreed to streamline various measures, including acceptance of American regulatory certification for specific food products. On environment and labour-based issues, Malaysia has agreed to enhance its environmental protection in line with global commitments, as well as international labour standards. On digital trade, Malaysia is committed to facilitating digitalization in trade and encouraging secure cross-border data flows to spur economic growth. This approach is based on the principle of non-discrimination while preserving our sovereign right to regulate for public interest and security. So this is in line with the principles of WTO and our existing commitments under the various FTAs. So I must share that commercial deals, there's many that we have discussed. One that is worthy of mentioning here is Malaysia Airlines pledge purchase of Boeing Airlines, as well as other deals on semiconductors and tech, also form part of the package. All these deals will support the US-Malaysia trade balancing. Due to our existing NDA, I will not go into specifics, but I trust all of you get a rough idea of the level of flexibility and the give and take required in our negotiations. The key takeaway is that we stood firm on what we needed to stand firm on. For every single commitment negotiated, we always asked ourselves, on balance, would it be better to have a lower tariff, let's say X number or Y number, by opening up our market unconditionally on certain products. So negotiating is about balance and pragmatism. So ultimately, it's not just about the tariff rate. The devil is always in the details. So thank you very much, and I open the floor to questions.
Please state your name and organization before you
I'm from China Media Group. I would like to ask, according to a report, local media report, the report says that the new punitive tariffs from Trump government will cause a sudden economic shock in Malaysia. Not only Malaysia, but cause a sudden economic institutional shock to the world trade system. So, and for the U.S., this is not only a means of pressure, but also the beginning of the blackmail. So, what do you think about that? What's your comment?
As I mentioned, thank you very much. As I mentioned, we will continue to engage the U.S. What is good, in a way, is that the tariff that was announced, the tariff of 25%, will be effective on 1st of August. This gives us time. Initially, the 90 days ended yesterday. So we act in good faith. We want a fair and comprehensive agreement for Malaysia. Today, you have seen many countries face challenges. That's why we only see 2 countries that have concluded some form of agreement with the US, but the rest are still in negotiations. Negotiations will proceed, will continue. I have contacted my counterpart, US Trade Representative, Ambassador Guerra, yesterday, and tomorrow we will have a video call with him. In fact, tomorrow also, the Prime Minister is meeting Mak Rubio. I will be there, the Secretary of State. So the engagement will continue. So it's not about the question that negotiations have failed. It's not about the questions that this is about Malaysia or the world is facing a crisis. But of course, in all negotiations, in all meetings, in all platforms, we continue to reinforce our view that we are in support of the principles of multilateralism. We believe in the rule-based trading system, of course, the WTO at its core. So this is key. At the same time, during these negotiations, it's important to note that Malaysia continues to be neutral in its approach, and ASEAN as well. We believe in ASEAN centrality and neutrality, and we will continue to engage all parties. So Malaysia, of course, we just came back from meetings from BRICS. I just came back at 3 a.m. in the morning, accompanying the Prime Minister. Last week we were in Europe. We will conclude the Malaysia EFTA Comprehensive Partnership Agreement, and we will continue to engage all markets and all economic blocks and all countries as well. And our team also just came back last week from Brussels as we continue to negotiate the Malaysia-EU FTA.
From I remember you mentioned about the possibility of the high-tech sector, which is critical for Malaysian economy. What about the negotiation going situation about the high-tech sector, and also about the trade administration issues, including semiconductor transshipment?
Yes. So on the issue about economic safeguard, this is on the economic security, as I mentioned in my opening, that this discussion continues. Malaysia is looking at current existing laws, existing rules that we have, to see where are the areas where we can strengthen those laws, especially in areas of economic security. Not just with the US, but for the sake of Malaysia as well. So this will continue. We are in discussion with our team internally to see what are the areas where we can strengthen. And we're finalizing that. We expect an announcement to come soon as we discuss with our team at meeting, and also as I will give cabinet later today. On the other issue,
semiconductor transshipment.
so on semiconductor, I think transshipment not so much an issue for us. Many of our products, 60% of our what do you call it, 70%, 60% of our export to the US is semiconductor and AMD, of which close to 65% is from American companies themselves. There is no issue for transshipment on semiconductor for Malaysia when it comes to economic security.
I meant for China.
Yes, so for China, there's no issue. There's, of course, there is an issue about decoupling, right? But as long as the technology that we are talking about, a technology that is not under restriction for now, there is no issues for Malaysian companies and Malaysian exporters or US-based companies or other European-based companies willing to export to various countries.
YB.
Itu kita tanya USTR, kita dah tanya, dia pun tak ada jawapan. Kerana ini pulang kepada Presiden Amerika Syarikat. Seperti Jepun pun tanya kenapa tiba-tiba naik 1%, tapi kita kena tengok dalam konteks perbincangan. 1% itu bukanlah nombor yang besar. Kita masih lagi rendah berbanding dengan negara-negara jiran kita seperti Thailand, Indonesia dan sebagainya. Yang penting ialah ini belum efektif lagi, ya. Efektif pada 1 bulan Ogos setakat inilah. Dan kita akan teruskan dengan rulingan. Yang penting juga yang seperti saya sebut tadi, kita tidak boleh berkompromi bila isu ini, kalau ada isu berkenaan kedaulatan negara, isu yang mengenai memastikan rakyat kita tidak terkesan dengan apabila keputusan. Perbincangan ini bukan saja perbincangan mengenai tarif, perbincangan ini perbincangan mengenai non-tarif saja juga, mengenai undang-undang yang kita ada, ya, undang-undang yang kita rasa penting untuk negara kita tidak boleh berkompromi. Jadi oleh itu, kita kena lihat dari segi keseluruhan. Seperti yang sebut tadi, kita kalau boleh kurangkan 2,500 itu kepada yang ke bawah daripada 2,500, ya, yang dia saya difahamkan lantainya ialah 10% lah. Oleh itu negara-negara yang ada 10% tidak ada berunding dengan Amerika Syarikat. Oleh itu saya dengan pasukan kita akan terus berunding dengan Amerika Syarikat. Tapi kita give and take dengan rundingan. Kalau kita tak setuju, kita kena bersedia untuk mengatakan kita tak setuju. Ada red line, ya. Isu red line kita penting kita pertahankan.
What? YB, Martin from the Star. Okay. Martin from the Star. What are the specific red lines? You mentioned that it may be policies or law.
Both policies and law. I can't say in detail. I mentioned about one on digital trade. We've talked about our ability to impose tax, digital tax. That's really nice. I think that's our. We feel that it's our sovereignty right. Digital tax issues regarding laws, criminal laws on digital e-commerce. Been passed by the Parliament recently. So these are issues that, of course, on the issue about government procurement, our ability for government to procure as per the current procurement policy. So these are issues which we feel is strong. But to be fair, we are also in discussion with all the relevant agencies and ministries. They also have their lines. So we coordinate with all the ministries, from agriculture or the pharmaceutical or Ministry of Health. There are also red lines on certain issues regarding certain medical standards, technical standards. So which we feel may not be fair. So we will consult the ministry saying that look, we have to follow certain standards. So it's a give and take. So I can't go into great detail on those issues, but rest assured we have to stand firm. And we stood firm on many issues as well. And to be fair, like I said, some of the issues after elaborating and explaining why the US has accepted our reasoning.
Vietnam reached a deal and they got a 50% discount. So, I mean, for us, what was the main reason why we couldn't reach a deal?
Well, the main reason is because we need more time. I mean, like I said just now, there are only 2 countries that have reached a deal. We don't want to reach a deal for the sake of reaching a deal. If we can reach a deal that, on balance, benefits Malaysia, benefit Malaysia, then yes. But if the deal does not benefit Malaysia, we should not have a deal. We have to be firm on that. We have to go in the negotiating table, not wanting to agree on anything. That's not how negotiation works. It has to be fair, it has to be comprehensive, it has to be inclusive. So if Vietnam may have different parameters, I don't know the details of that. And we are starting at a point of a stronger position. I must say that given the trade balance that we have with the US, it's not as big a surplus as Vietnam, and we don't have many issues that we feel are off. We look at our applied tariff rate against on US is very low, it's 5.6%. So how low can we go? So for us, we'll continue. This is actually positive that we have got an extension. Or else today we will be paying 24%. Will be decided. So the fact that all countries that have been mentioned, I think there's 14 countries have been given 1st of August, is good. Because like I said, I spoke to my counterpart yesterday, and tomorrow we'll have an official call with my led by me and together with the counterpart. And we are also meeting the Secretary of State tomorrow. So engagement continues. We have to 1st of August to ensure. But whatever it is, we must be ready that there are areas where we cannot compromise. It is our country's sovereignty to protect it.
Apakah asas kepada optimistik Datuk Seri ini bahawa Malaysia boleh capai persetujuan menang-menang dengan US selepas kunjungan 2 kali? Yang kedua, banyak kali. Yang kedua, Datuk Seri. Okey, pernyataan Datuk Seri semalam yang kita masih lagi optimistik. Jadi apa asas Datuk Seri bahawa kita boleh menang dalam perundingan ini dengan US? Yang kedua, adakah kita akan kena 10% tambahan kerana BRICS di 25%. Dan juga dalam statement artikel surat
Satu boleh tak jawab? Yang pertama, yang tanya yang senang dulu lah. Yang BRICS tu dia dah sebelum keluarkan surat. Tak ada pun yang 10% tu. Dan pada masa yang sama, saya nak beri pencerahan di sini. Yang 25% tu adalah tidak termasuk 10% baseline ya. Ada yang mengatakan 10 campur 25, maknanya 25%. Kalau dia pun 25, bukan 25 campur 10. Mengenai isu BRICS itu adalah, itu Donald Trump punya statement dan tidak ada dibuat setakat ini. Soalan pertama ialah mengenai optimistik. Memang kita terus dalam engagement tu, kita mestilah optimistik. Kalau tak optimistik, buat apa nak terus engagement ya. Kerana kita rasa yang penting ialah mereka cakap masih lagi nak berunding. Kalau kita dia tak nak berunding, macam saya sebut tadi, tidak ada call untuk official negotiation untuk besok contohnya, dan ini menunjukkan tidak ada peluang lagi untuk ruang untuk kita meneruskan sesi berurus kita dengan mereka cakap. Itu sebabnya saya optimistik. Kalau dua-dua side masih lagi nak bercakap, maksudnya ada peluang untuk kita menyelesaikan isu tarif ini. Saya of course benar juga berbincang dengan rakan-rakan sejawat saya di negara-negara lain, dan mereka juga optimistik yang mereka boleh dapat menyelesaikan isu-isu yang masih lagi tertanggung. Dan kita ada masa, walaupun masa itu singkat, 2-3 minggu ini, kita cuba saya upaya untuk memastikan kita mencapai bukan kemenangan tapi menang-menang lah. Mereka syarikat pun ada isu-isu mereka sendiri yang mereka perlu membuat mendapat kejayaan.
Dalam surat Presiden Trump ada menyatakan secara tarif akan dikenakan sekiranya Malaysia atau syarikat dari negara membuat keputusan untuk membina atau mengilang produk di dalam syarikat. Apa komen Datuk Seri?
Ya, itu dalam perundingan saya tadi. Dia bukan saja melihat dari segi procurement barang-barang yang Amerika Syarikat, tapi juga melihat dari segi pelaburan negara kita ke dalam negara Amerika Syarikat. Pelaburan kita sekarang ini agak besar juga dari pendapat saya, tetapi mereka meningkatkan, melihat peningkatan pelaburan daripada syarikat saya dan kita, daripada dana-dana kita, dan ini adalah salah satu, kalau lihat surat itu bukan saja daripada Malaysia tetapi kepada semua rakan-rakan dagang mereka, di mana mereka yang melihat negara-negara yang melabur, ada pelaburan dalam daripada Amerika Syarikat, dan kita juga melabur ke dalam negara Amerika Syarikat.
Has the announcement by President Trump actually derailed progress in the previous negotiation with the US?
No. From my discussion, we will continue where we stopped. We were actually in the midst of asking for an extension. That's the truth, because we have still a few outstanding issues that we have arranged for the relevant ministries to meet, the relevant departments in the US. And the US are also deliberating whether they can extend it. And of course, it has been undertaken by events. Donald Trump made announcement through his social media and also through the letter that he sent to various countries. So the deadline is now 1st of August. That in itself is an extension, and therefore we will continue where we have stopped, and we are continuing our representation. In fact, tomorrow I have a video call with the US Trade Representative tomorrow.
These continued negotiations ahead of 1st August, is Malaysia engaging the US on its own in this matter, or can we see a more coordinated ASEAN response to these negotiations?
For ASEAN, what we can say is that we all stand firm on the principles of free trade and on the principles of multilateralism. But on the negotiations, we are all negotiating on behalf of each country, because every country has its own issues that we need to raise, and of course, we need to engage the US. The US prefer to engage bilaterally, not through any multilateral platform.
Was there any red line related to China or
no red line on China. Our chief negotiator was also here. I believe there's no issues on China, red line on export to China, except for the chips, of course. Right? And that's red line for every country. Red line for US. But for us, we are okay with that. It's not red line for us.
Yeah, based on your extensive negotiations, right? I mean, 25 rounds, and how confident are you yang Malaysia ni boleh mampu mengurangkan yang kadar tarif itu daripada 25%?
Yes.
How confident?
How confident? You want in what percentage?
Ini Datuk juga cakap kita kena ada penderak tengah juga kan. So, jadi berdasarkan dengan semua secara menyeluruhkan, Datuk Seri rasa leaning tu arah ke mana tu?
It's a very difficult question because when I speak to my counterparts, the two people that I speak to, and the team also speak to the team of my counterparts, the Department of Commerce and the USTR. At the end of the day, it's up to the president. So when I speak to USTR and to Secretary of Commerce, we are quite confident that there are small issues that can be resolved, but there are big issues that we need diplomatic engagements as well. So to me, if you give me 50-50, I'm more towards more than 50% concluding. So, but the timeline is key, because at the end of the day, when you negotiate, the devil is in the details. So that is where sometimes time is required. Just to give you a feel of how we have concluded 18 FTAs so far, the record is 11 months. So no FTA has been, the average is 18 months. So this is 90 days. Therefore, it takes time. And that's why you only see 2 countries so far can conclude in that kind of time frame. But having said that, I'm optimistic, right? And I have confidence in my chief negotiator, who is sitting there on my right. And I have confidence that my counterpart will have the ability to see some of the reasons and to understand some of the reasons why we can't move on certain red lines, given the sensitivities that is peculiar to ASEAN and Malaysia.
Okay, thank you.
We need to address.
Yeah, the non-tariff barriers, I mentioned a few on agriculture. It's more in standards. There are also issues on halal certification.
I mean, you also mentioned that there are many red lines. So which one are not the red lines?
Well, not the red lines. I can't discuss the details, but I can give an example. Maybe when we talk about halal certification, we can look at ensuring that the halal standards that they have is at par with our standards. So this is one of the red lines for them, because they want to export their agricultural products. Right now, we do not allow the export of beef and poultry from the US, for example. They're asking why.
And we ban the biggest exporter as well, yes?
So there are, sensitivities there. And then, of course, they have their constituencies that they have to explain why can they export to Saudi and can export to UAE and can export to any other stuff.
Reuters. Bahaya.
So that's one example.
Thank you.
But it's not relying to us because to us, okay, we can, but just have to meet the standards.
Habis. True. Sir, boleh? Okay, thank you.
Dato' Sri, just a quick one. I mean, just out of curiosity, why for Malaysia kan the rationale to send the letter to PMX satu dan lepas tu dengan Anggung? Kenapa dia dua?
I really don't know the answer to that. You have to ask Donald Trump. But if you ask me, maybe because there's two, head of government and also head of state. Some countries it's the civil state. For example, Indonesia, the head of state is a civil presidential system. We have a different system where we have head of government and we follow, of course, the Westminster system where we have head of government and head of state. Maybe out of respect, yes.
We have some questions from some members of
I thought it's a question.
who are able to come as well. So one of them is about the mitigation measures for our exporters and SMEs, and the other one is the impact if the negotiations are not able to reach.
My question there. Thank you, Khalil, for so mitigation. I mentioned many times that we will continue to engage all of the parties, all of the countries. So I know that. So we have our agencies and the relevant ministries that are also working with us. We want to look at new access to new markets and continue to deepen access to current markets. I mentioned about FTAs, but we also have an announcement made by the government recently that they have allocated 50 million for market, for example. But at the end of the day, like it or not, Malaysia has to continue to focus on improving the strength of our companies, the fundamentals of our economy, because that is what's going to drive Malaysia going forward. We need to be more competitive, we need to be more innovative, we need to ensure that we move up the value chain, because that is how Malaysia can sustain our growth. So, and with that, the government is focusing on supporting key sectors under our NIMP, our NETR, and middle of the end of this month we have the National Semiconductor Strategy. So these are areas where government have to continue to facilitate and support industries to ensure that we remain competitive, and at the same time opening new market and whatever existing market that we have, to deepen those market access. Those are those key mitigation that we are already doing, in fact. Okay, thank you.
What does Malaysia need to do to reduce the tariffs?
What we do is, well, as I said, it's a negotiation. So what we need to do is to ensure that when we reduce the tariff, we need to see the impact to what does the request they want. It's not, they won't reduce tariff without us giving in on certain things. So we need to have a balance. If we give in to some of the requests, will that have an impact to Malaysia? If the impact, looking at the the balance is positive or net. Negative, if it's negative, then we have to see that. Right? So again, it is a negotiation. We are negotiating basically on issues that will be important to the country going forward. One must remember is that we are an open economy. Our trade to GDP last year was 150%. Malaysia trade with US totals about 15%, which is about 200 billion ringgit, right? About 75 billion US. So there's another 85%. Whatever we give to the US, we need to give to the rest. We have to be fair to all. We cannot. We have FTAs, right? So we have to be fair to all the countries. Not just to the one country that trade 50% of our total trade. There's another 85%. Right? So we have to look at the balance. So it's easy to say, let's just reduce it. Of course, I can say yes to all, then definitely you get it. In fact, if you agree to all, you probably get zero. Right? Because it's not just about tariff. I can give 0.9% before one country did that, but that's not enough. It's about 30%. So it is about looking at country sovereignty, looking at our policies. We have achieved the kind of growth that we achieved today because of the balance that we have in supporting key industries as well. So that's the truth. I can get zero if you want, but I have to agree to all. But that's not fair. That's not negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Our economy rate, ya, kita punya outlook masih lagi sama pada masa ini. Kita belum lagi, just off the line with the negara, they are doing some analysis, but at the moment, officially it still stands the same, right? Because of our growth economy forecast. The details will be reviewed by Central Bank. I think the sensitivity analysis, but I think they are also waiting on our negotiation, so we can do it after the 1st of August. But numbers still strong. I think CEO Matik pada di sini. The numbers are still strong. Mungkin mereka tengah meningkatkan perdagangan, ekspor dan sebagainya. Waiting for pushing stock upfront loading some of the things. So that's why you can see the spike in export and import. Most companies now are doing, so they of course naturally will speed up some of the export and also increase inventory at the same time. So thank you, terima kasih.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reuters.
Sorry, your mic.
RTM.